Hello, I'm Peter Fingar, and as a former CIO and college professor, I've been working at the intersection of business and technology for almost 40 years. You could say this grandpa has seen it all from the very beginning, so I don't pay much attention to the constant stream of hype that comes from the IT industry. But now and then, something game-changing comes along, and I devote my full attention. For example, the mini-computer in the 1970s. Then the PC in the 1980s, then the Internet in the 1990s, just to name a few. Well, today we are witnessing a seismic shift in information technology, the kind that comes about every decade or so, and it will have a huge impact on business, especially in today's dire economy. Remember how the retail industry was slow to grasp the importance of the Internet before it got Amazoned? Well, another technology storm is brewing. Only this time the turbulence could be even greater and affect every industry. And it's no less than a perfect storm, as it's coming at us in the midst of today's unexpected change. It's called the cloud, a 21st century business platform built on cloud computing technologies. Cloud computing is set to unleash a perfect storm in business. Just as it was with a fresh new Internet of only a decade ago, the cloud and the technologies of cloud computing bring with them confusion and hype. Nevertheless, these are game-changing phenomena, so business leaders and the rest of us must gain an understanding of what these terms really mean and how they will affect us, just as much as the Internet has affected us all. Today, both business and technology forecasts are cloudy. Smart businesses will prepare now to take advantage of the cloud and successfully ride out the perfect storm to create a bright future. We do indeed live in very interesting times.
You know, I've been palling around with the object management group since the Stone Ages. That's way back when Chris Stone was the CEO of the OMG. Although never a member, I do try to attend technical meetings when they're in my area of the country. And when I'm there, I'm just amazed at all the technologists who know so much about so many things related to technology and advanced technology, the people who are pushing the envelope. So I'm not here today, if you're a technologist, to tell you anything you don't already know about cloud computing. But what I am doing when I give my talks around the world is I try to identify who in the audience are the business people versus the technologists. The business people raise their few hands. The many hands go up are technologists. Well, I talk to the business people because they've got the money. But what I try to do is for the technologists is to take my simple way of thinking and translate a conversation into something that's needed by business people. And my main message is that the wow about cloud computing is not about on-demand IT. It's about on-demand business innovation. Now, in talking to business people, the first thing we have to get by is, what is the cloud? Or as Larry Ellison put it a few years back, what the hell is cloud computing? Well, guess what? There's no such thing as cloud computing. It's not a new technology. It's not a new methodology. It's not a new architecture. All that it really is a new delivery mechanism. By the way, if you use Google or Yahoo, you are already a pioneer in cloud computing. So even though there's no such thing, we still need to define what it is. If I were to ask 20 people amongst technologists or business people what is cloud computing, I would probably get 25 different answers. So to clear the air and come up with a working definition, I turn to NIST. NIST has the most non-proprietary, non-vendor-oriented, non-buzzword-oriented set of definitions. Cloud computing has 3 layers. Everything in those layers is delivered as a service. At the bottom, we have infrastructure as a service, those huge data centers, the networking facilities. Then we also have platform as a service, and that's the level of services offered to developers of software. And finally, software itself as a service. That's where business people, end users, and others actually use and consume the software in the cloud. So that's basically the delivery models, and you can go out to NIST and look at their evolving definition. And also they have many use cases to explore. On the other hand, NIST also talks about deployment models, private clouds, or virtual private clouds. This is related primarily to data center virtualization. Here we're talking about extreme cost savings from running those huge data centers that big corporations use now. Then we also have public clouds. Whereas the private clouds are behind a company's firewall, the public clouds are offered by cloud providers in their huge data centers located around the world. And they're open to the public. A business person or anyone else can go to a public cloud and start using the equivalent of a huge data center with only a credit card. Putting the two together is what we call a hybrid cloud. And one of the forms of cloud computing that piques my interest as far as business is a community cloud that we call a business network. That's where a number of companies come together to form a value chain and put a firewall around those participating companies. Companies may drop in or drop out, but basically it's an exclusive business network that's aimed at bringing companies together to form multi-company value chains. Now, in talking to business people, in short, I just say basically it's the real internet, or what the internet was meant to be in the first place. An endless computer made up of networks of computers. John Gage back at Sun Microsystems in 1984 said basically the same thing. The network is the computer. But sorry, John, back then with 300 baud dial-up, that ain't gonna happen. But today, with the growing use of broadband, we're now able to say that the cloud is the computer. Well, so what? I like the way The Economist put it. The rise of cloud computing is certainly going to get a whole bunch of geeks excited. They're not unfamiliar with all the fundamental concepts. We've had on-demand IT for a long time. We've had virtualization. We've had a number of technologies that are based on distributed computing. But the important part The Economist makes, it will also profoundly change the way people work and companies operate. With that said, we go to the next step and make the conclusion that the economic and innovation implications are game-changing. Because in the past, information technology was about productivity. Now it's about collaboration, a shared information base, collective intelligence, the wisdom of crowds, social networks, and crowdsourcing. We're now talking about one shared world, one shared computer, one shared information base. Well, again, so what? Well, cloud computing makes it possible to create whole new business operating platforms, business operating systems, if you will, or a business OS, that will allow companies to change their business models and collaborate in powerful new ways with their customers, suppliers, and trading partners. Simply stuff that could not be done or wasn't practical to do before. What? Did you just say, put my business in the cloud? Whoa, wait a minute. By the way, in this chart, that little star is my home here in Florida. Well, no, we've been listening to that guy, Larry Ellison. It's complete gibberish. It's insane. When is this idiocy going to stop? Well, certainly behind all of this, there's some very serious and deep concerns. And the central concern is that of security. There are other concerns when we go to any new set of technologies, concerns about auditability, portability, and so forth. But security, of course, is the number one concern today. And what's interesting is that in many cases, security can absolutely be further increased for your enterprise by going to cloud computing, including public cloud computing. Can your company, as a mid-size or even a large enterprise, staff up with the world-leading experts in all of these new security areas? in the way that IBM or Amazon or Google or other huge cloud providers. To follow up on these points and learn more, go visit the Jericho Foundation, part of the Open Group, or the Cloud Security Alliance. Go get Tim Maher's book on cloud security. There are new threats, just like with any new technology, but there will be new controls and new techniques for managing the security issues. So it turns out that, as Mickey North-Riza of AMR Research, now part of Gartner, said, it's a huge deal when GE goes outside of its firewall to innovate. Now other CEOs are asking their CIOs, what are you doing about the cloud? So the point being that the combination, as I mentioned earlier, of private, public, community clouds is definitely going to bring about competitive advantage. Because yesterday it was the internet that disrupted the business world. Today it's the inner cloud. I didn't say cloud, I said inner cloud. Because there won't be just one cloud, there'll be many clouds. Private clouds, public clouds, and these community clouds. Here we see bringing to market a brand new product. Forget the iPhone, let's talk about the sunglasses phone. Well, my company that wanted to create a new market went out to a private cloud of Flextronics, who is an ODM, not an OEM, an original design manufacturer, and then incorporated public clouds from Workday Human Capital Management, from Avaro's Supplier Management Systems, Salesforce's CRM. They also went to E2Open, which is one of those trading networks where multiple companies come together in a value chain. So it's not going to be just one cloud. It's going to be multiple clouds that come together to create this new dynamic business operating system. Let's go back to the internet itself. Could it have actually worked without standards? Absolutely not. Because standards were the key to internet interoperability. Well, today, standards are also the key to portability and interoperability in the cloud. But the requirements for those standards must be driven by cloud end-user organizations, by business people, by government agency workers, by individuals who have a stake in this, not by the cloud providers or the techie standards organizations. Else we're going to end up with confusing and proprietary, quote, standards. We'll end up with the problem of standards being that there's so many to choose from. So just like the standards needed for the internet to be what it is today, we're going to need the same thing to have standards for these interoperating clouds, for the inner cloud. I will leave you with one major thought, and that is that what can be done in the cloud will be done. And that thought is a question. Will you be the doer or the one done in? If you don't want to be the one done in, then get involved today and help setting the standards for cloud computing interoperability. Help set the standards for the inner cloud. Join the Business Ecology Initiative. These are both sponsored by the Object Management Group, but it's not where techies come together. It's where the business people come together and work with technologists to help us shape our future. Thank you.